Good day, everyone. Welcome to Any 101. Today, we've got a very special guest with us all, a good friend of mine, the current chair of Australia's Climate Change Authority and a former New South Wales Treasurer and Minister for Energy and Environment. Welcome, Matt Kean.
Thank you for having me on Andy 101.
Thank you, Matt, for coming on the show. So, Matt, let's go back to the very beginning. So, what got you involved in politics?
Well, I was involved in my local community and there were some people trying to put a massive development in bushland next to my family home. And there was a resident action group which I became part of to protect the natural environment in the area where I lived, in the broader Hornsby area. And I got involved in that and I saw how politics can actually make a difference to people's lives. And from that moment on, because I cared about my community and I cared about my country, I saw politics as a way to actually bring about a better country and a stronger community for everyone. So that's why I wanted to get involved.
So, you got elected in 2011?
Yeah, I was the baby of the New South Wales Parliament. I had a full head of hair then, Andy. So I was 27 when I was pre-selected and I found my way into Parliament in 2011 as one of the youngest members of the O'Farrell government. And I had a remarkable journey because I was able to go straight into government, part of the O'Farrell government. And I ended up being in the Parliament for 13 and a half years. And during that time, I got the privilege of serving the people of New South Wales, ultimately as the Treasurer of the state.
So, you got elected in 2011, and then you went on to become the Minister for Energy and Environment. In 2020, you delivered the New South Wales Electricity Infrastructure Roadmap. Can you talk to us a little bit about that policy and what triggered your drive and vision behind it?
Well, Andy, it was a bit of a surprise to me because my friend Gladys Berejiklian, who was the Premier at the time, I was very close to her and she rang me after the 2019 election victory and she said, "Maddie, I want to give you a big promotion." And I thought I was going to get the finance portfolio or something that I was passionate about and knew a bit about. And she said, "I want you to be my Minister for Climate Change, Environment and Energy." And I thought, what have I done to upset you, Gladys? Because this had been a very difficult area of public policy for the Liberal Party. But she said to me that she wanted to have someone that was prepared to stand up and speak out on those issues because it was a bit of a weak spot for the Liberal Party. We just lost a seat in Coogee where environment was a really big issue. And in our polling, it had shown that it was a big issue in a number of the seats, particularly in northern Sydney and the eastern suburbs. So she wanted someone that was going to work on those areas of public policy. The first meeting that I had with the Energy Secretary, they said to me, "Minister, welcome to the portfolio. By the way, in the next 10 years, 4 of your 5 coal-fired power stations are going to be closed. And there's no mechanism to replace them. So good luck." So necessity is the mother of all invention. And it was clear that our coal-fired power stations, which have powered our economy for a long time, were coming to their end of life. And we needed a plan to replace them, to put downward pressure on electricity prices and also keep the lights on. And it just so happens that at that time, the cheapest way to provide reliable energy into the system also happened to be the cleanest way. So that was what drove my thinking to come up with a mechanism that would encourage private sector involvement in the build out and modernisation of our electricity system, to encourage private capital to come in rather than the government doing it all. And that's why we put in place frameworks that were investable. And the proof is in the pudding. Today, New South Wales is streaking ahead when it comes to the modernisation of the grid because we've invited the private sector and private capital to deliver on the government's agenda as opposed to the government doing it themselves. So I'm very proud of that policy. It's delivering investment, it's delivering jobs, it's also delivering lower energy bills to the people of New South Wales and a modern, reliable electricity system that happens to also be good for the environment.
Lots of Australians remain skeptical about net zero and the transition to renewable energy. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'd say you don't need to believe in climate change to believe in capitalism. Private capital, global markets have made up their mind. They know that today, when it comes to energy production, the cheapest way to deliver reliable energy is also the cleanest way to do it. So as I said to some of my friends that are skeptics, you don't need to believe in climate change to believe in capitalism.
Yeah.
This is where capital's going. This is where the economics are going. This is where the innovation and technology is going. And we should be embracing these opportunities. And what I will say, Andy, is that this is not just an environmental imperative. This is an economic imperative, because there's no country on the planet that is better placed to win in a low carbon global economy than Australia. Think of it. We've got an abundance of wind, of sunshine, and a periodic table of critical minerals below our feet. So that means economic growth, economic prosperity, cost savings for families and businesses. And in a low carbon global economy, which is coming whether Barnaby Joyce likes it or not,
Yes.
Australia can win in that world and become even more economically strong and successful in doing so.
So, Matt, how competitive do you think Australia is compared to the world when it comes to attracting capital to be deployed in renewable energy in Australia?
Well, there's no shortage of global capital for the energy transition, but there is definitely a shortage of investable capital.
Yeah.
And I think the key message for us as Australia, which relies on capital inflows to build our infrastructure, is that we need to make sure that we're a really competitive place to do business. What does that look like when it comes to the energy transition? We need to make sure that our tax rates are up there in terms of global competitiveness, that it's an attractive place to invest and get a return. But we also need to make sure that our policy settings enable you to invest with confidence, that there's going to be certainty, you can model your returns and know exactly what the future looks like. So I think we as government, we as people interested in the energy transition, and certainly I am as the chair of the Climate Change Authority, we need to make sure that private capital is welcome in this country, that it can invest with confidence and help us realise our ambitions to be an energy and economic superpower.
So, I mean, at the moment, lots of EVs are rolling out. I mean, you've seen a lot of the rise of new EV brands such as BYD from the East.
Yeah.
What do you think is making them so successful at the moment?
Well, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump's invasion or the war in Iran has sent a signal to people that if you're relying on volatile regions of the world for your energy needs, particularly when it comes to petrol and diesel, then that means you're going to be paying more to travel around the place. And don't take my word for it. Take the market's response to what's happening in the Middle East.
It's crazy.
Last month, new vehicle sales in Australia that were electric were 23% of the market.
23%.
So, people can see what's happening. People can see that tying yourself to fossil fuels means more volatility. It means less national sovereignty. I'm an EV driver. Many EV drivers know that your sunshine can't get stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. So it makes economic sense. And increasingly, we know that the sticker price of an EV is coming down the cost curve. So today, the total life cost of owning an EV is already cheaper than the total life cost of owning an internal combustion engine vehicle. Very shortly, we predict around 2028, the sticker price of an EV will be cheaper than its combustion engine vehicle equivalent. So the economics make sense. The environmental imperative is clear. And the technology, particularly coming out of China, as you've said, some of the, Zeekr, BYD, just incredible. And Australians are looking at this, they want to drive the latest technology that has all the features that give them a better experience, help them save money in a cost of living challenging environment, and are also good for the environment. So it's what I call a win-win-win.
You drive an EV, right?
I do.
Said so what EV do you drive?
I've got a Tesla.
You got a Tesla.
So I got a Tesla a few years ago.
Is it because of the FSD? Self-driving?
No, I don't use the self-driving. Okay. I have used it. I like to be a bit more in control when I drive. But I think at the time that I had a Tesla, that was the EV in the market. Since I purchased that, there are other vehicles entering the market.
So when did you purchase your Tesla?
2023 we purchased. So I'm really excited about the BYD brand, the Zeekr brand, the Polaris stuff. I mean, What's coming out of China, because of the advanced manufacturing, is just so exciting. And I really think, it's delivering better products at cheaper prices that could really turbocharge the movement towards a low carbon economy. It's really exciting.
I've got a big question for you. So Australia set its target for a net zero emissions by 2050. Now, many countries have set similar targets. In the private sector, we've seen companies such as Uber trying to transition their platform and making it zero emissions by 2040 and sometimes even 2030 in certain regions. Do you think we are, on the road to achieving those targets in Australia?
I think that, to use a political saying, there's more to do, but we're heading in the right direction.
There you go.
And some of the proof points are like we said with the EVs. The take-up rate is increasing and will continue to do so as the cost of owning an EV continues to become more attractive. Take renewable energy, for example. Only a few years ago, Australia was receiving only around 9% of its energy from renewables. Today, or for the last quarter, it's up at around 50%. We've seen a huge uptake on solar panels on your roofs and batteries in the homes. The federal government's Cheaper Home Battery Scheme in 12 months has seen over 400,000 households install a battery behind the meter. That's delivered about 11 gigawatts of capacity into the grid. It's bigger than almost all the New South Wales coal-fired power stations put together in record time. So there are a lot of bright spots, but we know there are challenges. We know that it's going to be hard to decarbonise steel and cement, aviation fuels. That doesn't mean that we can't do it. It just means that we need to think about how we're going to catalyse innovation, investment in those areas so that we can bring them down the cost curve and tackle those hard to abate sections of the economy as well.
Well, Matt, another question for you. So where do you think capital should be deployed in the renewable energy space? Where do you think the economic opportunity really lies?
Australia's need to modernise its electricity system is an invitation to invest in Australia. I mean, it's one of the biggest capital formation events that this country has ever seen. To build the 44 gigawatts of wind, about 18 gigawatts of solar, 17 gigawatts of utility scale batteries, 5,000 kilometres of transmission lines, you're looking at over $300 billion worth of capital that will be required to
300 billion
in the next decade. I mean, that's one estimate from one of the consulting firms. That varies depending on who you speak to. But either way, it is a big capital deployment opportunity. And for investors that are looking for a stable environment, investing in assets that generate safe returns, this is a really attractive opportunity. The challenge for Australia is attracting that capital when the rest of the world is trying to do this at the same time.
Yes, that's right.
So that's why we need the right tax settings, policy settings that make Australia an attractive destination for that capital. So that's something that I'm working on as the chair of the Climate Change Authority. I'm speaking to people every day of the week about what we can do to make Australia more investable. That's good for our economy. It drives our growth and it will set us up for an even stronger and more prosperous future.
I mean, lots of people who buy an EV, whether it's a BYD or a Tesla, I mean, the number one concern that they will have in mind is, well, if I was to go to a public charger, is there enough public charging facilities in the country? So, BYD announced that they're trying to bring turbocharge, I think they call it the flash charge, to the country in 2027. In terms of the charging infrastructure that we have currently, do you think it's enough?
Well, clearly we need more. This is a challenge that we've got to deal with. But, if you asked me 5 years ago, do you think every 400,000 households would put a battery in their home in a 12-month period, most people would have laughed you out of town. Just as the technology changes and the economics of those technology changes, so too does the uptake of it change. And when it comes to EVs, what we're seeing is more brands coming into the market at cheaper price points. And it's a bit of chicken and egg. The more you see people wanting to get into an EV, the more attractive it will be to build the infrastructure required to support it. So I think you'll create a virtuous circle. The government at the state and the subnational levels are thinking about this. So you're seeing the policies that will attract those kind of investments. And then you've got great businesses like yours, Andy, Yumigo,
Yep.
that is really a catalyst pulling through demand for EVs and the associated infrastructure. I mean, it's super exciting.
I was reading the news and I'm hearing that 20 more EV OEMs want to come into Australia in 2027 from China alone.
And that's incredible for Australian consumers.
I mean, we've only got 27 million people in the population. What do you think is making it so attractive for OEMs to, is it because of BYD's success?
Well, and I think what makes it so attractive is that Australians are early adopters. They see the opportunity for EVs giving them a better experience on the road, you know, cleaner communities because you're not getting emissions or you know, tailpipe emissions pumped into the atmosphere, and also cheaper experience. You know, you save every time. You don't have to fill up at the Bowser. So Australians recognise that. I think those foreign OEMs see the opportunity that Australia presents, and it's an attractive marketplace. We need to make it as attractive as possible because you know who will benefit from those 20 vehicle manufacturers coming to Australia? It's Australian consumers.
It is
They get
Australian
more
consumers.
choice, better products, and that's a win for everyone.
That is a win for everyone. One last question to wrap up.
Sure.
You were always part of the blue team, and I know you've got a true blue heart. Now, you got the appointment to the chair of Climate Change Authority by our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. What were you thinking when he called you?
I was shocked. I was genuinely surprised. And I said to the PM and the minister, you know, I'm on the blue team, don't you? And to their credit, they said, that's why we're asking you to take on this role, because meeting the challenge of addressing climate change, it's not a blue team or a red team challenge. It's all of our challenge. And we need people of goodwill, regardless of their politics, that want to protect our planet and hand it to our kids better than they found it, but also do it in a way that's going to make us stronger economically and more prosperous as a people and as a nation. That's something I've always focused on as a blue team minister. It's something I continue to focus on as a blue team participant in an independent role, working with red team and blue team and green team and teal team and whoever is interested in this. And I'll continue to focus on that. Find people of goodwill who want to build a stronger and more prosperous nation for everyone to enjoy, but do so in a way that protects our planet and hands it to them better than we found it.
Thank you so much, Matt, for your contributions today.
Thanks, Andy. Great to see you.
Thank you.